Live at 5, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is facing a new effort to get her kicked off the Georgia election interference case, all because of her former relationship with a former prosecutor.
The Georgia Court of Appeals giving former President Trump a victory, agreeing to hear a challenge to a ruling that allowed Fulton County DA Fani Willis to remain on the 2020 election meddling case. This is tied to Willis's romantic relationship with a former special prosecutor, the judge allowing Willis to stay on as long as the prosecutor, Nathan Wade, left the team.
Well, Scott McAfee, the judge in the case, agreed their explanations did not pass the smell test. He called it an odor of mendacity, which means he thought someone was not being truthful. Still, he allowed Fani Willis and her office to continue the prosecution as long as Wade was removed from the case.
Yeah, this is a major move. It could impact Trump's trial date before the November election. The district attorney here, originally, she said that she wanted this trial to come down in August. This could potentially impact that case, though.
That's exactly right, Faith. So not only is it likely to delay the case, it also now means once again that District Attorney Fani Willis could once again be disqualified from prosecuting it.
I'm curious, do you think that you've done any kind of damage to this case?
None at all. None at all.
Even the public perception of it?
My private life became the focal point of the case. My private life has nothing to do with the merits of that prosecution.
Tonight, it appears former President Trump is one step closer to avoiding criminal proceedings before the November election.
Given the high-profile nature of this case, the one thing no one wants is for this to be overturned on appeal.
In a move early Wednesday, the Georgia Court of Appeals agreed to hear Trump's appeal on the ruling that allowed Fulton County DA Fani Willis to remain on the 2020 election RICO case. The decision will most certainly delay the trial in Fulton County for Trump and his 14 co-defendants, as well as put Willis's fate back up in the air.
He excused himself from the case, but our argument is that basically this does not right the wrong. There should be disqualification. This case is selective prosecution. It's persecution at its best, and now we get to be heard on that.
This is election interference. What's happening is bringing these cases, and I'm not a Donald Trump supporter. I voted for Hillary in 16. I voted for Biden in 20. I didn't vote for Donald Trump at all, but waiting to bring these cases until the eve of election is abuse of authority. And at some point, there needs to be a reckoning here, because this is exactly the kind of thing that Republicans are going to do to Democrats when they get into power. And Democrats will have no one to blame but themselves for not speaking up and for countenancing the abuse of the legal system the way it's being abused in these cases.
Most of America was feeling, even before the judge issued the ruling, it's basic common sense as you see the fact pattern. When somebody is running to be the district attorney and they're running under pledges to take people down, like we saw with Alvin Bragg, with Tish James. Obviously, it's a very political election interference prosecution that's going on down in Georgia. There are a lot of Americans who might not be supporters of President Trump. They're independent-minded Americans who see that this is a political prosecution. Now you add the dynamic of this of the counsel being a lover.
Georgia, Fani Willis underestimated Trump, underestimated the American people, overestimated herself. But the larger issue here is when it is a political prosecution and everyone is on board, even subconsciously or silently, you can't rock the boat. Because then if you're an elected official, if you want to be invited to the parties, if you want to continue in your job in some fashion, that you would be the one to blow up the ship. It's like, what are you doing? So that is one of the core problems with a political prosecution, is that either people are silent, don't want to say anything to disrupt it, and when they really should, they don't. And the entire framework, Harris, as you noted, begins to collapse.
I just want to remind you of what the judge wrote. He said there's an odor of mendacity. There's a tremendous lapse of judgment. The unprofessional manner of the DA's testimony, he referred to that, a significant appearance of impropriety that infects the current structure of the prosecution team. So he found that despite there being an appearance of a conflict of interest, that did not demand disqualification. The American public looks at this and just says, something is afoul here. This should not be, she should not be on the case. We always knew this interlocutory appeal was coming. It came, and it's not just this. Remember, the Senate investigation to which Emily refers, there are 12,000 contacts between Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. 10,000 of them are text messages. If the Senate gets those, more information comes out, bye-bye. Not going to see this in 2025. Maybe you won't see it ever.
It turns out that a lot of the salaciousness that they had hoped to bring against Donald Trump actually involves the people who are, who are prosecuting, testifying. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
We begin with Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and her refusal to testify before the Georgia Senate Investigative Committee.
The committee wants to find out if she misused any money during her relationship with former special prosecutor Nathan Wade.
Fox 5's Rob Durienzo pressed her on the testimony at Big Bethel AME Church, where she got some big endorsements today. Rob?
Hey there, that's right, guys. Good evening to you both. Well, DA Fani Willis asserted that this committee doesn't have the power to subpoena her as she stood flanked by religious leaders and other members of the community. She says that prosecution is her service to God.
I don't care how many times they threaten me. I will gladly leave this place knowing that I did God's work.
All right. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis got the blessings of a handful of church leaders on the steps of Big Bethel AME on Auburn Avenue. The chairman promised a subpoena to make her testify.
First of all, I don't even think they have the authority to subpoena me, but they need to learn the law.
Fulton Commission Chair Rob Pitts appeared under subpoena on Friday. I asked DA Willis if she'd go on her own accord. Will you appear, yes or no?
I will not appear to anything that is unlawful, and I have not broken the law in any way. I said it, I'll say it amongst these leaders. I'm sorry folks get pissed off that everybody gets treated evenly.
There are times when we just disagree with what's on the books, and that's the position that I find myself in.
The panel's chair says they do have plans to subpoena Willis if she does not come voluntarily. The last hearing back in March featured testimony from attorney Ashley Merchant, who brought the motion in January to disqualify Willis from the Fulton County election case against former President Donald Trump.